Like, right? Now, when
Oh,
the
yeah,
price is
yeah.
$25.
Right.
That's nothing.
Yeah.
Like Canada, Mexico, right on there, right on the border. Border
Yeah,
state,
yeah.
border
Our
resident.
building has a.
It's weird, having person.
So probably the best.
All right, everyone. Hi, everyone. I am Brad Sherburne. I'm the vice chair of the Landmarks Committee. We will be getting started shortly. But I just wanted to give everyone a little bit more time to get here, including our chair, who's actually in the lobby right now coming up. So we'll get started shortly. Thanks. Yeah, it's yours.
You think?
Then she said, how many other opportunities are there for public comment? And it's like 20.
I wanted to get, and I wrote myself a note on my biggest test, but you don't have to be like that. People.
So there's just, should hunting one still there. Davis Bird is a little really over. Working on thing.
Oh,
So he's,
you know, there's,
that's great. School.
building at, 25 to the
So
right around. So where do you think?
All right, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for your patience and sorry for this delay. This is the Landmarks Committee of Manhattan Community Board 5. My name is Leila Lopez-Zico, I'm the chair. A few words about how the meeting is going to proceed tonight. We have 3 items on the agenda. Each applicant will be given an opportunity to give a full and uninterrupted yet concise presentation on the application. Then members of the committee will have an opportunity to ask questions to the application. The applicant will be given an opportunity to answer these questions, and then I will open up the floor to members of the public. Members of the public will have an opportunity to ask questions and make comments to the applications. Applicant will be given an opportunity to address those questions and comments. And then we will move to business session. During business session, only members of the committee are allowed to discuss the matter. We will do just that. And then a motion will be made. And this motion will be taken to a vote by this committee. The vote of the committee will then be presented to the full board of Manhattan Community Board 5, which meets the second Thursday in February. You can join this meeting both online and physically, and all the information is on CV5 website for the location and the Zoom link. Each motion that is voted on tonight will be presented to the full board, and the full board will vote on this motion. The vote of the full board becomes the official position of the community board. This position will be then forwarded to the relevant agency, in this case, the Landmarks Preservation Commission, as well as relevant elected officials. So, with that said, the first item on the agenda is 924 Broadway. And this is an application for legalization of window replacement. Do we have the team of applicants here? If you want to move forward, introduce yourself. Are you able to share your screen so that you can give the presentation both physically in the room to this group as well as online to?
Yes.
Our fantastic.
Shall I take a place?
Absolutely.
I
Go
don't
for it.
share and hold it. So.
Go for it. Absolutely.
Let me change my settings, apologize. Okay, I think that's it. So my name is Hilda Cohen. I am from Matisse Architecture and Design, and we are presenting the legalization of the existing window replacement at 924 Broadway. 924 Broadway is within the Lady Smile Historic District. It's on the very edge, the upper section on the east side of Broadway between 21st and 22nd Street. And the legalization of the existing windows that are currently in place does not detract from the building's scale and age, which are the noted features that contribute to the special architectural and historic character of the Lady Smile Historic District for LPC. So we have historic photographs of 924 Broadway. Typically, when we look for historic photographs, we can always find the pictures to the adjacent building. And so we use those because 924 Broadway has gone through a series of facade changes over the years. And here it is highlighted as I guess my red isn't showing up so well. 924 Broadway is in this old photo, 1940s, is the white building here. This is a closer up from the 1940s. Also here is highlighting the corner building, which has much more architectural detail, and this is 924 Broadway. And this highlighted image shows the current state of 924 Broadway. However, currently there is a sidewalk shed, so this photo doesn't show that. So what we have is the building had an approved LPC set of drawings, and it did a whole lot of work on the facade exterior, including window replacement. And the issue is that there's a violation for very minute portions of the window replacement and the windows that were replaced. So the image on the left is the elevation of the building before the window replacement and before the work. The middle one is the proposed that was approved in 2008. And the highlighted blue are the portions of the windows that do not match for the installed drawings or what was approved. And then the photo on the right shows the existing conditions where LPC has indicated on the violation that the top transoms of the second and third floor are taller and the proportion is square rather than rectangular. And then furthermore, there was a double hung window added at the third floor, which does not match the approved drawings. These photos show the windows and the conditions of the building prior to the window replacement and prior to the facade restoration that was performed. The comments on the left, the historic photos typically refer to the adjacent buildings. LPC has indicated that the building, 924 Broadway, does not have architectural elements that are historically distinct. Rather, that the building's age and scale are among the features which contribute to the special character of the Ladies Mile Historic District. And then so these windows that we are requesting legalization for do not detract from the age and scale of the building. This this sheet has a little bit more. Again, the highlighted rectangle shows the second and the third floors, which are the windows the top transoms of the second and third floors. But this legalization of windows and the documents show a lot of the history of what has happened in the past. It's been altered in 1927, 1938, 1940, 1950. And in fact, it's listed even more on the actual permit that was received by the building back in 2008. And the highlighted text on the bottom is the comment that we've made that says that the building has been renovated many times with major alterations in 1880, 1921, 1927, 1950, and that the 1950 renovation included the present modern glass and black finish metal facade, and that the building's age and scale are among the features which contribute to the special architectural and historic character of the Ladies Mile Historic District. One more time, this was from the original drawings that LPC approved. They wanted to see these as part of the presentation. This is not been modified as it was previously. This also shows the scope of work that was approved, and it does differ in the sense that what this shows was a single pane galvanized metal frame, which is not what was installed. What was installed was or is aluminum frame with insulated glazing, and it's meets the standards, the energy efficient standards of the time that it was installed. And these windows are in good condition, and the proportions are slightly different, and that's what we're trying to legalize. So our request is to have you approve the legalization, and if you have any questions, we're open to that.
Great, thank you very much. Let's jump right in. Questions you can indicate by raising your hand, and if you can state your name so that we, those who are joining us on Zoom know who you are. Zul.
Thank you. Zul Zolkwitz. Hello, Hilda. How difficult and expensive would it be to modify the windows to be proportional and to match the historic shape of the transom?
Well, I think it's an undertaking that the client doesn't want to
That was not my question.
research.
How difficult and expensive would you imagine it to be?
I would imagine that you would have to take out the entire window rather than just the top transom. It's an entire system. So it's a significant change.
Thank you. Brad?
Can you give us some history as to why it was installed, differing from the LPC drawings?
So I cannot speak to why. We were brought on to the building, onto the project to legalize it. But when we first looked through the different sort of process, when we first saw the drawings that were galvanized steel frame and single pane, we immediately thought, oh, well, let's replace this for something more energy efficient. So why it was what was performed. But our recommendation after reviewing the condition of the windows, which is in relatively good condition, that we do not recommend replacement, we recommend to legalize it.
I'm gonna take a follow-up if it's okay, Brad. Can you actually give us a sequence of all of this? So the permit was issued by LPC in
2008.
2008, so that's the permit. When was the work started?
So it's my understanding that a good bit of the work, and the permit really shows that there was a whole lot of work that was done. The facade repairs, fire escape was done. Metal panels were removed and replaced at the top. There was waterproofing. So all of the significant portions of the work were done over up to 2014. It was a process that.
And was it started in 2008?
I don't know if it was started directly in 2008. It was after that, because the work was done, and after interviewing with some of the building personnel on site, it was not done all at once. So it was, the second floor was done, then the third floor was done, and then the fourth floor was done.
Okay, and has the building changed ownership in the course of this whole saga?
The client for the permit is the same, is the management company that was the same for that we have now. So I don't know if ownership changed. I don't think it did. It was Valley Bank. So it hasn't changed.
Okay. And the work was completed in 2014.
I would have to check exactly when the violation was issued, whether it's, I say 2014 because I think that's when that's when they found the violation. So I don't know when the work
So
was
in
completed.
2014, LPC issues a violation.
Yes.
And then what happens between 2014 and 2024?
It's my understanding that they tried a couple different times to resolve the issue. We had some history of a communication back and forth between LPC and previous architects and expediters that had tried to resolve the issue. Much of our recommendations are based on that communication. LPC had indicated what they needed to do was either replace it or repair it, or replace it or legalize it. And so through that, and after initial discussions with LPC, replacement was not something that they were requiring, that legalization was something that they were absolutely fine with. So that was part of our process moving forward.
Okay. Those are basically the two options that, it's part of the statute. It's not that LPC is saying, they're not prescriptive. They're basically telling you the menu of options that you have, right?
Correct.
Okay. So between 2014 and 2024, LPC says, basically you either replace and you build it per the specs that were approved, or you go through the legalization process, which requires committee board input and going in front of the commissioners.
Correct.
Because the staff doesn't have the power to legalize anything.
Correct.
Okay, all right. So here we are in 2024, and now they want, your client wants to pursue legalization. And they have indicated that they're not interested in any remedial steps such as rebuilding the windows.
Correct.
And windows dispense.
And the decisions, the recommendation to legalize was based on a number of factors. One is the condition of the windows, the age of the windows, and the feedback that we received from LPC, with the fact that that the building is not of the same distinct historic character as the adjacent. And that was a large factor. That was quite a factor in us making the recommendation to legalize.
Okay. Okay, and so, but the windows are 10 years old. At
Correct.
least 10 years old.
Correct.
And aluminum windows, useful life is 20 years. So they're halfway through their useful life.
The useful life can, if it depends on how well they're installed. They were installed plumb. They had all the sealants looked in good condition. We were able to get on the outside of the building and see how it was sealed. So yes, an aluminum window could last that long, but these are in quite good condition. It could be longer than 20 years.
Okay. All right, thank you. John.
Yeah, I'd just like to follow up on a few of the questions. I think a number of the questions that were asked, especially the timing issues and the reasoning of why they were not legally covered before the meeting today. And I think you said you were going to try to find some of the answers. So I guess what I'm struggling with is why you haven't been able to get the answers, not just today, but before. Is it because no one knows, or is it a process you had to go through and you weren't able to finish it?
The information that we did receive was actually provided by our LPC staff coordinator. So the person that we're working with at LPC was able to go through the files and give us quite a bit of history on that, which we've included in our recommendations. It included, we otherwise would not have the photos of the building prior to the replacement, even though Google goes back a certain amount of time, but it didn't have, we didn't have that. So the information that we have is through the research based on our LPC communication, what was received from us from clients' own records. But a lot of this is from LPC's communication.
But the core question, why did you replace the windows with illegal windows? I guess that's the core question, which we went over.
Right,
And my question is, are you saying you can't get an answer, or you haven't gotten it yet? You haven't talked to the right people? That's what I don't understand.
So that is something that, no, we were not able to get that. The people who are providing information at the bank now were not the same people as had been involved in the project at the time. So the communication as to why that top proportion is slightly different, it wasn't written down in any kind of way. There were not shop drawings for us to look at. We looked through all of the information that we could find, and there was nothing that spoke of that. So we don't have that information. And we did look quite a bit.
Okay.
I actually have a follow-up on that, John, if you will allow me. I'm a little bit confused now because you said that it is the same management company
Correct.
that
Well,
is in charge today that actually was in charge of the work.
So the management company now is 924 Broadway Associates LLC. And the permit at the time was issued to Mala LLC. And it's my understanding that that was the father of the person who now is the associate, but the paperwork did not follow through so that there was consistent paperwork from this project that we could find. That's all that we have. We don't have more information about the process of how they selected these windows.
John, do you have?
Yeah, just a
follow-ups?
little bit more clarification then on, and could you explain how the infraction was originally discovered? Was that something LPC brought to your attention, or was it someone else? And can you be a little bit more specific with the timeline between when you first learned of the infraction and today? Can you bring me from infraction up to today? What's happened?
So the violation that was issued was 2014, and it's my understanding that that there was an attempt to file with the DOB, and they weren't able to file with the DOB because or it went through the process, and that's when the violation came out from LPC, because they had to go through the process. So the violation was what we were given, the process of how the violation got into their hands. It's, I think I don't have that answer. It's a,
And how long have you been aware of the violation? How long has it taken you to get to the point of asking them to be legalized? What's the time?
so there is documentation from LPC and from our staff person of communication from 2015. And then there's also communication from 2018. And then there's communication from 2021 and 2022. And then we were brought on in 2023 to actually try to get it through. So there is communication back and forth. It is an old violation, and it has just sort of sat for that amount of time. The application to rescind the violation and to correct it was never fully sent in. There was an application, but it never went anywhere. And so that's why we have documentation. There was a previous, some of the pictures from our presentation are from that earlier application that never went anywhere. They didn't know how to legalize it, or they didn't have the right people that knew how to do it. And the windows had, I think at that point must have been 2 years old, so they didn't want to do anything. And so they just sat on it.
Then my last question is, why now? Why in December? Why 2023, 24? What?
We weren't given the exact information on that, but I imagine the way that violations and DOB works, something triggers you wanting to move forward. I do know that LPC has recently added escrow and cost to violations, so that could also be what it is. I don't have that.
Just a quick follow-up on that. So if I understand correctly, LPC issues a violation in 2014. This violation is not as we received clearly by ownership of the building. Ownership of the building or management company tries to pull a DOB permit, maybe for something entirely unrelated. And then DOB says, no, sorry, can't do it because there is an LPC violation. Is that, and maybe the details are not exactly that, but is that the sequence more or less?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And then my other follow-up is, has the property incurred fines because of this violation?
We were not informed of that. LPC did not say that there was any escrow. Typically, there's an escrow number that's associated with it, and there's not on the filing. And when we applied for the legalization, we had to list the violation number, and we were not told of any kind of escrow.
But you just mentioned that
It could be that is there, but it's outside of our knowledge. It's not something that was made available to us.
okay. I mean, you would know if
I would think that it would be.
management would know that they have to pay.
Correct.
Fine for this
I
violation.
think that it would be something that was made apparent through the LPC process, because in order to clear it, you have to clear the violation.
Okay.
Follow up on that, just so I'm clear in terminology. When you say us, you mean Matisse, not the ownership team, correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
I have a very succinct question.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I'm not at all confused about this. I think what you're telling us is the same management company, father and son, name is changed, that received the permit in 2008, did the work in 2014, was in violation, is now asking to legalize it and rather than correcting.
Correct. They're asking to legalize it rather than replace the windows, correct?
All right, Barbara.
Go back to the photo, the photo where you show the windows. Are you
Things just
stuck?
went off. I think I'm not on.
Oh, all right, well, I guess my question is, so you've got two floors that have a window with a certain, with a transom of a certain depth. And the top window is the correct one. Were they not all replaced at the same time? And why were the two, do you know why the two bottom ones did not follow the approved drawings? And when were the drawings approved also?
The drawings were approved in 2008.
Okay.
Through interviews, the second floor was done first, and then the third floor, and then the fourth floor. And it could be that they found the violation and saw that they were out of alignment, and they corrected it for the fourth floor.
I see.
So they had that in time, and they didn't do it the other way.
So
But-
they did it very peacefully.
It was my understanding that they moved into the upper floors, that they absorbed the upper floors, or the rent tenants changed, and so that's why they did it at the time frame that they did it.
Okay, thank you. Is there any way that we can head to the,
Could you
on the
share?
web? Yeah, I
Turn it
can
off,
see it,
turn it
yes,
back on.
yeah. Next question, Tony.
You mentioned that the original windows that were there were galvanized steel. The current ones are aluminum. What was actually approved by LPC?
So. Sorry, my computer just. Okay. So the original were actually metal framed. Here it has the removal was of metal framed. So we're assuming it was a painted metal or it was an aluminum. And then the approved drawings actually had galvanized and galvanized metal with a single pane, which was one of the reasons that we wanted to go make the assessment. But what actually was installed was aluminum.
Okay.
And so LPC has said that they don't have an issue with the aluminum windows. They don't have an issue with the material. They don't have an issue with the insulated glazing. It's the specific top transom.
Okay, just one quick thing. You mentioned a double hung window, one or maybe more. That's existing currently?
That is existing, yeah,
Okay.
sorry.
Thank you.
Here is a picture of the elevation from before and the elevation of the approved in 2008. And then this is the final,
Thank
this is
you.
what was installed.
Right.
Is there, when it was replaced, is there any condition where you have steel and aluminum in any sort of contact or near each other, or are they fully
No,
aluminum, a fully aluminum
it's
system?
fully aluminum window. It was removed and replaced as an entire, so the entire masonry opening, the window was replaced, the entire masonry opening. Thereby, if the transom wanted to be modified, it would be the entire window that would be modified.
What is the cost difference between galvanized steel and aluminum?
So the cost different, I would imagine that galvanized steel would be a more expensive window. It would
By a
be
magnitude of,
in 2008 numbers,
I don't know, like, is it 50% more expensive? Is it 100%? Is it twice as much to do galvanized than aluminum, or?
It's pretty expensive.
well, it's a difficult kind of, there's not as many fabricators that would make galvanized steel. It's more of a, I think that they must have been trying to meet a metal frame. And in discussions with LPC, the aluminum, the actual aluminum frame is not the problem. It's just the
It's just the
proportion.
proportions. Okay, all right. Other questions? Yeah, Mike.
If I may, if you don't get legalization and the repairs are not done, the penalty is a fine, or is the penalty not being able to sell the building? What is,
I imagine that if we are not allowed to legalize, they would replace them.
they would,
That they would replace the windows. The idea is that they want to be in compliance. They absolutely want to
and
be.
keep the buildings, they're not looking to sell the building, as far as you know.
Not as far as I know.
Thank you.
Okay, other questions? All right, let's open up to members of the public. We actually don't have any members of the public on Zoom. Do we have any members of the public in attendance with us tonight? Who wishes to speak on this matter? Any comments or questions on this from members of the public? Okay, so seeing none, let's move to business session. So just for a little bit of framing on how this committee looks at violations, the two questions that we ask ourselves are, was it done intentionally and for nefarious purposes? That's sort of like the first question. And then the second one is, had we been presented with this particular application ahead and for an approval, would we have found this particular construction to be harmonious with the building? So those are sort of like the two questions that really put our opinion of these violation requests through. So that's for a little bit of the framing. So comments, Brad.
So from what I've heard, it doesn't appear to be nefarious reasons for me. It seems like maybe a mistake, especially because that last window was installed correctly. So it looks like maybe they caught their mistake and figured out that they probably should have done it right the entire time. To your second question, particularly with that final window being a different design than the other two, I don't think that that is something that would have been approved by this committee. And so for those reasons, I think I would be in favor of a denial for this, because I don't think that this is really, there is sort of no remediative method being proposed. It's just, is this good? And I think the answer for me is no.
Thank you, Brad. Zul.
I can wait, Tony has something.
No, go ahead, Zul.
Okay, I also agree with denial. I happened to be at a conversation with one of the landmarks for the preservation commissioners, and he talked about, there's a certain ambiguity built into the law, and at every meeting we talk about the spirit of the law and so forth. But there is a law, and this is a very clear case where they put an application, they received an approval, they built something that's in violation, they know it's in violation. Now they want to buy their way out of it by legalizing instead of correcting it. That's if we're going to have legislation. We need to enforce legislation, let them correct the violation.
Thank you, Tony.
I do think it was intentional. They had very clear plans in front of them. The double hung window really is just, I don't know where that came from unless you're consciously putting that into plan. That it just came out of nowhere. I think part of the problem stems with, a lot of these older buildings, that top floor tends to be shrunken a little bit as you go higher. So with their design of the smaller rectangles on the side, that kind of screwed it up. Originally, it would have just been the bigger transom on top and then big windows on the bottom. You would have noticed. But I do think it was intentional. I think honestly, it came down to money. The building could use some help. I'd love to have them come back to us, say we're restoring the whole thing. The windows as is just adds to it. I don't think we would have approved this at all. It had to come to us as is, as a new application.
Thank you. Suzanne Johnson is joining us online as a member of this committee, and she has her hand up. Suzanne.
Hi, thanks, Layla. Sorry to not be there this evening. I agree with what Tony said and with Brad and with the rest of the group. Oh, sorry, can you not hear me?
We're gonna try and fix that.
We're going to try to fix it on our end.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Fantastic.
Okay, I just wanted to say, I agree with what Tony had to say. I do wish they would do the whole building. I'm not sure if I would say nefarious, but I think this was probably a money issue, but more of it's just setting a precedence. And so I agree with everybody who's spoken so far.
Thank you, Suzanne. Yeah.
I guess for me, not having an architectural background, when I look at the plan and I look at what it looks like in reality, it took me a while to figure out what was different. Like I needed the voiceover to be like, is it that different? It's pretty like, it's pretty subtle to an untrained eye. I can see why, what the applicant is saying about the LPC thinking this building is not particularly like special for the Ladies Mile Historic District, and like that the windows on this particular building maybe just not that big of a deal. I guess like for me, intention, I think hard to speak to. I'd probably fall more along the lines of what Brad said, where it's hard for me to say that there may or may not have been poor intent, but for the second one, it looks so similar to the plan to me that I don't have a problem with it.
Thank you. Peter.
Coming from the other direction of Sashi, having an architectural background, being an architect, I'm guessing that maybe what happened was that the owner of the building put in an application to change the windows, went to a window supplier, said, yeah, I can do that, here's the price. And then the window supplier maybe said, I can save you a few dollars if we do this instead of this, and no one will ever notice. And it happened. Is that nefarious? Is that, I don't know. But there's nothing about this building that says to me it adds to the historic character of the Ladies Mile Historic District. There's nothing to do with the period of Ladies Mile. And I would add a third question. What is the carbon footprint of asking them to change it? All that's going to go into the garbage. For what?
Well,
Other comment, Barbara.
Well, I guess I'm a little ambivalent because they're asking, instead of asking for permission, they ask for forgiveness. So I just, you're sort of rewarding somebody for potentially bad behavior. I guess what really bothers me is that they don't all match. I'd feel a little better if all of them were at least the same. But it really sort of bugs me that it's smaller, as it should be, at the very top and then the other two levels, so. I'm not gonna die on the sword over this, I wish it was otherwise.
Yeah, John.
In addition to the two issues you raised, Leila, I think ultimately, in my mind, I'm struggling with two competing values. One value is, to what degree do we want to provide incentives for people to breach the law, or to reverse that question, incentives not to breach the law? That's one side. The other side is, for me, is purely a cost benefit analysis of, is the cost to society, and I'm including the owner as part of society, is it worth that cost to correct this issue? That factors in the environmental issues, just the construction, everything. Is it worth it? And so these are two competing values. I haven't made a decision yet, but I was hoping maybe some of my colleagues could address those two. Which of those two values should prevail?
one last time, Larry. So
ahead.
just on John
I'll
and Peter's
take
comments in
that.
terms of the carbon footprint, that is a concern. And then Sachi, you and Peter are not that far apart. I have to be an artist. I see the difference. I don't see this as a particularly architecturally significant building. However, we have a huge problem in the city. In every single agency, we pass legislation and this landlord is in violation. And instead of hiring a construction company to correct the violation, they're now asking, by hiring an architectural firm, to come to this committee and go to the LPC and now we're gonna legalize the violation. Doesn't sound right to me. If we're gonna pass laws, and a lot of laws that perhaps we should not pass. But if we pass them, we should enforce them. We got a whole set of laws that are not enforced, and we see the civil, disrepair in the city now. So I would stick to that. I would like to know what the cost difference is, and we can't get that. I don't know what these guys are being paid. I know we've given no idea of what the cost of the repair was. We don't know what the cost in terms of the carbon footprint, and that concerns me greatly too. But this is a very bad press. This is a denial.
Well, we know that the windows are in, we know they're functional, we know they may not match, whether or not we would have approved them. The windows are in, they're functional. In my mind, it would be wasteful to require this owner to do this. I understand all the principal arguments and all of the hubbub about the board's prerogative. But the fact is, the windows are there and they work. They're gonna expire in 10 or 15 years anyway, and they'll be back. So I would, the commission may or, Madam Chair, the commission may or may not find, we don't have any authority over what the commission.
Can we recommend that? Can we do it, an approval with just a stipulation?
We can issue any opinion that we wish to issue.
We can
But
be
at,
proactive
but at,
instead
but at the
of-
same time, we want to be mindful of what the commission can actually implement. Recommending something that the commission cannot do is probably not a good
Well,
idea.
We're calling my time. We're not, the commission's gonna do what the commission's gonna do. And if the commission wanted to do a fine, they would have already done it. And they may still. We don't know what the commission's gonna do.
So,
All we're doing
and
is looking at the windows.
just to explain the process. The commission doesn't have leeway to do anything they wish to do. So they can do a number of things. They can either ask the applicant to basically build to what was approved, or they can legalize. There's nothing in between. Okay, it's not like they can sort of like half legalize and start charging a fine as a punitive measure because, that's part of the legalization process. There's no fine as part of the legalization process.
But from our
Either it
end,
is-
we can
either-
approve with a stipulation that they be asked to pay a fine. We can do that.
The commission, either the violation stands, it is not cured in any way, shape, or form, and then the commission can impose a fine, or the violation is cured either by legalization, or by replacing the windows and building them to specs. There's actually a third way, which we have not discussed, which would be, a different design that could be approved, that would be different from what is built. So for example, given that, symmetry is something that is important, and even if this building is not significant, on any building, it's a good principle to actually have symmetry and have an order and logic rather than, sort of haphazard design. Another option would be to actually replace the top windows so that they match the bottom ones. That could be, and I'm not suggesting for a second, we don't do design by committee and we don't tell applicants how they should design, but I'm just mentioning it. This is an option that this applicant could choose as a way to cure the violation. That, they would, basically MPC would approve a superseding design that would become, the approved design. So, but there's nothing in between. Okay, so it's not like, we can say, okay, we're fine, we can live with this, but you need to pay for, X number of times, or, you also pay X fine, and then you're good to go. Peter.
I do not disagree with anything anyone is saying. I do not disagree with people getting away with stuff they shouldn't be getting away with. But of my three ridiculous architectural degrees, the first one was in architecture history. And classically speaking, this building is not a classical building. The top floor windows would have been smaller than the windows on the lower floors. And in fact, I'm guessing just from eyeballing, that the opening of the top floor windows is a smaller opening, and that the bottom portions of the windows are the same as the ones below, and the clearance story window is narrower because it's a smaller opening. So it actually ridiculously makes it a little bit more classical, having it this way.
Tony, and then we're really gonna have to bring this to a.
You know, as of right now, a lot of us are looking at this building as being non-contributing, but at one point, it was a building that very well fit into this neighborhood. When these kinds of changes, whether it's window or complete facade renewal, when they come to us, it's our opportunity to slowly pull them back to honestly what they should be. I think this is a very small piece of what this building can do, probably the least this building can do to try and get back to that. The other thing, as much as a green person that I think I am, whether it's green or it's being conscious of cost, the bottom line is we're not really here to focus on that. It's really not our focus. It really is coming down to what is best for, in this case, the historic district. And those other things, as important as they are, we do have to push them aside, in my opinion.
All right, so I will actually not make any further comments, and we need a motion.
I do a motion to deny.
Seconded.
All right, let's take this to a vote.
Harris.
Back to me.
Yeah. Hirschberg, I'll say yes. Johnson,
Yes.
Quebec,
No.
Augustiko,
Come back to me.
okay, Miller.
No.
I myself am a yes. Spandorf,
Yes.
Sandberg,
No,
Shiran,
No.
Testa,
Yes.
Zolkowitz.
I don't like the motion, but I'm gonna vote no.
Okay. You're voting so to not deny.
I'm voting no.
Okay.
So the motion is
I
to,
know the motion, don't like it. Voting for the motion that was seconded, and so I'm voting no.
Motion.
Are you in favor of the motion or against?
I don't like the motion, but I voted no on the motion.
get it. Yeah, makes sense.
So I'm going to do going to be tied.
Well, what's the vote so far?
no, we,
Oh, wait, we're total majority, right, sorry. We have, well, right now we're tied. Actually, yeah, we're tied right now.
No.
Okay. And Belinda,
I will vote yes.
so we're still tied. What is that? I don't know what that means.
I think this is what we will be presenting.
Okay. Motion.
Do we have anyone who is more of a parliamentarian than I am?
Well, it's gonna go before the board now. It's a tied vote from the committee. The board will give a vote and then it'll go to the LPC. And because we're a recommending body and we're split, they're not gonna be at all interested.
Is it possible to bring two proposals to the full board? For example, it's only if it gets denied that we could.
No, we've made a motion. It was seconded and voted
The
on.
opposite would also be a tie, theoretically.
Unless we have a better idea next.
We've missed our opportunity.
No,
Motion
we've-
seconded,
Unless
voted on.
someone changes their vote,
I think.
the vote is tied.
Leila, is a tie looked at, is it viewed as it not passing, therefore another motion needs to be made?
Right.
Does it fall in that category?
No,
Goes to the board.
no.
So there's no committee action.
I'll change my vote. I'll be a no.
Okay.
Why a tied vote won't go to the board?
There's no.
Yeah, I know that.
Oh, no,
It's
it
about
goes, I
policy.
mean, there's
You
no
can't have a
action.
tie vote.
Right.
No action.
Right. Yeah.
No,
That's the vote.
I changed my vote. I will be a no.
No.
So the motion
Fails.
fails.
So do we now need to do the inverse so that it passes?
So we need another motion.
For what?
So now we.
The motion failed.
Yeah,
So
I move
failed.
to legalize. Yeah, so now we need to vote on
Right,
that.
second.
So we have a second?
Yes.
So you vote to legalize?
Yes.
Okay.
I moved to legalize.
Okay, and we have, and Joel, you seconded.
I didn't, Michael did, but I'm gonna vote yes. because
Mike-
I do think, as everyone said, we're a recommending body. That's when we're unanimous. So don't like the motion, don't like the situation, but I'm gonna vote yes.
I won't be offended if you.
No, I'm not afraid of that. As you well know.
All right, let's take this to a vote.
Okay, Harris,
Yeah.
Hirschberg,
No.
Johnson?
Um,
No would be the opposite.
yeah, thank you. No, yeah, I'm a little, yes, no, I can hear things if there's a lot of talking. Yeah, no, I think no.
Thank you. Okay, back.
Yes.
August ago.
Come back to me.
Okay. Miller?
Yes.
I guess I'm a no. Ms. Vandorf?
No.
Stanberg?
Yes.
Takahashi Rao?
Yes.
Testa?
No.
Volkowitz?
Yes.
And I will be a yes.
So motion
Motion passes.
passes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Your comment.
And I should mention that, given how close the vote is, I would encourage you to attend the full board in case this, as I said in my preamble, the vote of the full board, the vote of the full board becomes the official position of the community board. Okay, so given how close the vote was and how conflicted I am, I'm not gonna lie, I encourage you to attend the full board meeting.
And
Because
if,
that may be an item that generates sort of lively discussion.
And what we'll do is we can clarify some of those dates, go through some of the LPC communication that I have.
Yes, if you have any further information that you can share with us, I think that would be helpful, in answering some of the questions that the committee had.
Great, thank you.
It's February 8th.
Thank you.
During public comment or?
Is that
Um,
the first time that's happened? Like a split vote?
no, in my 18 years, we've had some of that, not so often.
But it's rare.
It's very, yeah.
Yeah,
no,
I
it
haven't,
is-
I've seen it.
It is very rare.
Yeah.
It is very rare. Okay, thank you. So the next item on the agenda is 225 Fifth Avenue. This is an application for proposed modifications to the 26th Street entrance of the building.
Right, should I stand in front.
Sure.
Pick your spots.
All right. My name is Drew Harley from Atchison Doyle Partners Architects, and Nate Fitch is also from my office. So we don't need the slides. I feel like this is the backup singer. Guitar. All right, so thank you. The application is for 225 Fifth Avenue. Next. Just a quick summary of the building. It was built in 1907, Beaux Art style building, and it is a limestone brick and terracotta building. It was originally a commercial building, and in 2004, it was converted to residential. So right now it's residential on the top floors and then commercial tenants on the base of the building. Next. Here are some historic photos of the building. It is on Madison Square Park, and it's part of Madison Square North Historic District. And that is why we are in front of you. It's not an individual landmark, but it's part of the historic district. So you can see here on the map, it's on the corner of, it's between 26th and 27th Street on Fifth Avenue. So it's just to the north of Madison Square Park. So we're here to discuss modifications to the 26th Street entrance to the building. The main entrance, the main residential entrance is on Fifth Avenue, pretty much in the center of the building. And this is a secondary entrance for the residential portion of the building. You can see it in the photo. This is the existing photo of the existing entrance. There are steps that are have seen better days that need to be repaired. There are stainless steel handrails that are not original to the building. And there's a revolving door and passage door and transom in the opening, which is not original to the building in modern style. And here are some more detailed photos of the condition of the stairs, the condition of the stainless steel entry and revolving door. And it's commercial in nature and it doesn't really match the use of the building, correct? So we are proposing to remove the stairs that are on the outside of the building, which to propose shortly, but remove the stairs and remove the infill entrance and remove the handrails that are currently on the building and next. So we're pushing the stairs inside of the building. We're putting a new doors and transom in the opening. We are, where the stairs were previously, we'll get a deer isle granite base to the building, which is a traditional material. We're proposing new sconces that match the sconces at the front of the building. And there's signage that tells people that the main entrance to the residential building is on Fifth Avenue. Next. So just existing proposed plans next to each other. So you can see the stairs on the outside of the building are being removed. The revolving door and passage door are being removed. We'll have swing doors at the street. The stairs will be pushed inside and there will be a vestibule inside. So just some context of how we came upon this design. This is the main entry to the building on Fifth Avenue. And so one of the things was choosing the color of the bronze doors that we're proposing. The main entry doors are much more brass and yellow color. We're picking up the darker medium bronze color on the canopy. It is a secondary entrance and we're trying to be a little bit more subdued with the color choice. But we are matching the same sconces that are on the front of the building. And the signage will be similar to the front of the building, bringing uniformity. These are the retail tenants. Again, that's slightly different than this door because these are commercial tenants and ours is a residential entry, but we're showing them for context. Next. Here are some neighboring buildings. You know, bronze doors of this style are very common for side entrances or main entrances in this historic district. And then final side by side, the existing entrance and the proposed entrance, the existing stainless steel doors, and then the proposed bronze doors. Sconces. So I tried to be efficient with my time. If you have any questions, please let me know.
Very well done. Thank you so much. Questions?
A question.
Yes, Barbara.
So, are the stairs, I have a couple of questions. I mean, one is, are the stairs original? And why make this change? You're not making the change for ADA. You're pushing the stairs. And so what was the reason for making the change?
Yeah, I think, well, one, we're bringing light to this side of the building, which is both part of the sconces and bringing the glass all the way down to the ground brings more of a presence on 26th Street. And this portion of 26th Street is, to the left of us is a storefront that hasn't been occupied for a while. So it's bringing light and presence to the street. It's not vacant, but there's kind of an expanse of 26th Street there that is dark at night. So this is just bringing more presence to the street.
Okay. Are the steps original?
I
To the
believe they
building?
are, yes.
I see. And how is this entrance expected to be used? So it's a secondary entrance?
Yeah, so the stairs in that form are original, but I am positive that the concrete finish on those stairs is not original.
Oh, okay. But so there were stairs in the original?
There were stairs in that location.
Okay.
And it is a secondary entrance. It all connects to the lobby of the residential lobby. So it's a different way. If you were coming from the park, you could go straight into the building, into the elevators and up it.
If you had like a key
If you
or
have a
something,
key,
yeah,
right,
something
exactly.
like that. Okay. All right, thank you.
So, well, I'm a next door neighbor to this building. I live on 27th Street. And I have friends in the building and on the staff. And we have a lot of homeless people. We had one man who lived a long time right in front of the Chase building. There's a particular tenant who hates the home. And what I understand is, over time, not often, but occasionally, most people who sleep on those steps, original to the building. It's a magnificent building. And they do a very good job generally caring for the building. For whatever reason, they haven't at these steps, and now they want to eliminate them and basically create a structure where that will not attract homes. That's my.
Was there a question there?
It was an answer to Bob's second question about being original, and from what I understand from the people and why they're removing those steps. Why? Because they're keeping steps inside. There's no ADA here. There's no advantage. You can get rid of steps.
Yeah.
Right? So why are they doing it?
Okay, thank you. Tony,
You're mentioning, bronze, it's not bronze color, it's actual bronze,
The finish of the doors is bronze,
but they're going to be aluminum doors?
steel doors with.
Okay, and then the light fixtures too, for the materials,
Yes, the light fixtures are bronze.
painted bronze,
No, it's patented, it's actual bronze.
actual bronze for those, okay, thank you.
Brad,
The deer aisle, is it matching something that you're replacing, or is it just matching what's kind of peeking above the stairs?
Well, there's a couple of different things here. Yeah, so it is not matching. There is more modern granite, that's the bottom of the storefronts, which is not historic to the building. There's limestone adjacent to it, which is coated and painted. And it's a patch. So instead of just coating over it with paint, we thought that it would be nice to have a real material that you would typically see in this situation.
Okay, but I guess the question I'm asking, there's not like a slightly different granite somewhere
There
else
is
that
not.
we're gonna see the difference from
There
it.
is
This is, okay. And then second question, I see the camera being installed, but I see one that's currently there right now. So is that,
So it stays, the cameras.
okay? And then
where is?
it's in the top left-hand corner.
Oh, yeah.
Here.
And then the second question, for the lighting for the sconces, how is that done?
It's going through the exterior wall.
And that
wire.
exterior wall is existing,
Yes.
original fabric?
Yes.
Can those sconces be done at a joint line in between, or are they at that particular location just because it sits nicely within the coursing?
That's why I love it.
Question.
And actually, I have a follow-up on that. So you're basically puncturing the limestone for your wiring.
Yes.
And the wiring is coming from inside.
Correct.
At that particular level.
Yes.
So no wires running, but puncturing directly. Yeah, okay.
Question.
Yeah. Suzanne, you have your hand up. Go ahead.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Are there any changes above the door? Are those windows a part of this application?
The windows above are not part of the application.
Okay, thank you.
Question.
Yes. So-
Okay, so the photo that we have of the existing entrance is taken from the curb side. The drawing that we're looking at, the proposed entrance, doesn't show us the sidewalk at all, does not show us the facade, the streetscape. It's a close on the building, doors, and its surround, and that's all. Do you have a drawing of the streetscape? Do you have a drawing showing us the sidewalk? This is giving us very little information, particularly as this does. This is the north end of the park, historic landmark district. I think if we look at it with a wider sense, we'll see how it affects the landmark district. My sense is that those steps are significant to this building and in the historic district. So can you show us those drawings?
We don't have it as part of the set, but something we do. Don't have it for today.
You do have the plan in hand.
We do have the plan, yes, but we don't have an elevation of the whole one.
I can go to Google Maps. That's
Yeah, go, yeah, maybe about it.
You have that photograph earlier in the
Yeah,
presentation.
the photograph is there. There's no rendering of the proposal that actually shows how it incorporates with the sidewalk and, like a broader view of, a rendering of the broader view. Other questions? Yeah, Peter.
Could we look at the Fifth Avenue facade again to see how the sconces are laid out there?
And these are original to the building or were they,
I do not believe the sconces were original.
so they were installed at the time of the conversion?
I should be careful with my words, but I know that these sconces are not original to the building, but they may have been in an original location. But I don't have that.
Okay.
Actually, we have the historic photo of.
And do you have a,
There was different light fixtures, but they were not sconces.
okay, but they were at that location. But do you have a historic photo of 26th Street?
The closest we have is this on the bottom. It really doesn't show enough detail.
Horse and carriages are in the way.
Yes.
Okay, yes, Mike.
Was this building once the Hotel, the Brunswick Hotel?
Yes, it was the Brunswick.
And then it was a gift building, right?
Correct.
And then it was converted to condos?
Yes.
You said with some commercial?
There's
Did you mean just retail commercial
Retail,
or
office.
just retail?
No office, just retail.
Okay. Can you actually address the comment that was made by my colleague Zool on the intention, or the alleged intention for removal of the steps?
I can tell you as an architect, I'm here to make the building look nicer and present well to the residents. And I can tell you residents don't use this entry for a number of reasons. It's not safe. There is a recess in the building for, people can hide in there. It's not a safe entry and people just do not use the entrance. So for safety concerns, there's a lot of reasons why we're proposing this.
Okay, thank you.
So it is a doorman building, so.
Okay,
Sorry.
Mark.
I was just gonna ask, is the doorman located there or another?
No,
they're on the other side,
Doorman is,
the other entrance.
Right.
And then, just so I understand, the glass is not gonna be this frosted glass, or it is going to be frosted?
it is not, the lower glass, will be cleared, and the upper glass will be frosted.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions? Okay, so let's open up to members of the public. We still have no attendees on Zoom. Do we have any members of the public in attendance with us tonight who wish to speak to this particular application? Okay, seeing none, let's move to business session comments. Barbara, Peter. No, go ahead, Peter, go ahead.
My hat's off to the building owner and the architect for doing it the expensive way. Maybe not the historically correct way, but something which works with the streetscape beautifully.
Thank you. Barbara.
It doesn't, I mean, that the steps are part of the original, even if those are not the original steps, but the change doesn't, I mean, it's a sensitive change, it doesn't, I think it looks well, in the rendering, it doesn't bother me. I sort of wish it was, I guess the other entrance is ADA accessible, so it doesn't matter that this one isn't, so.
Thank you. Brad.
I fully agree. I think it is an improvement, particularly over the steps that are there now. The only thing that concerns me is the puncturing of the historic fabric with the new lanterns that I don't see as kind of strictly necessary. So I think I'm in favor, though I kind of would like to see if the applicant is open to not having those, or is that a deal breaker? Or is that, sorry.
We are, I'll allow it.
I believe this is the application and we have to. I'm open to any comments you might have, but this is the application that my understanding is.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. Zool.
I don't know how we properly appraise this landmark historic district if we don't see the streetscape. We're seeing a close on of the door at the entrance, not any of the sidewalk, not a pullback in the least, and what, we would call a master shop. We don't really see, and from what we do have, you see the, below the windows of the retail on that corner, they're at the same height as the steps. So I don't see how we appraise it properly.
Okay. Other comments? Yeah, Tony.
I think they did a fantastic job. As somebody who walks this every single day, that is a very creepy entrance. And I welcome the lights because again, the top of the park is definitely very dark on both sides of the streets. And I too looked at, they're going through the center of those blocks.
The other side of the street is the park.
We're not good at, we're not.
The,
no
yes,
cross
the
comments.
entire one is dark. I too looked at those sconces and I went around to the side and I noticed that the main entrance, they are also through the center of the block. So they are matching at least, which I think is important to us. And during the original conversion, when I think they did those lights up front, they did a nice job of, they're not original, but trying to do something that at least gives a nod to its history there. So I think they did a great job. It is going through it. It's a concern I have as well, but I think they're doing a pretty good job with what they've got.
Can I ask a follow-up question?
We are, try to phrase it as a comment and then.
Oh, you're right.
If he
I have
wants
a-
to,
oh, okay,
to
okay.
address the comment, I will allow
Okay,
it.
I have a clarifying question. Since I'm writing this resume, I just want to get all the things right. So so going through the fabric would be consistent with another place on the building that
Right,
they've gone?
at the main entrance.
At the main
They
entrance.
have similar sconces through the center of the blocks at the same
Yeah.
exact height.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, good job. Peter.
And there is another photograph which shows the context. And also Tony very smartly pulled up pictures on his phone, so it's very easy to see the context.
Yeah, so I will make a comment on that, oh, sorry, Suzanne, you have your hand up, go ahead.
Oh, thanks. So I am in agreement with Tony and Brad. I will say very quickly that I agree about the lanterns and about the 225 Fifth Avenue typeface, but barring that, historically, I think it is a nice improvement, and we've certainly approved things in this manner with which we are advocating safety, quality, and landmarks. So I like this proposal.
Okay, thank you. So I'm actually torn with this one. It's always hard for me to approve any removal of original historic features. And although, I totally appreciate that the stairs are not the original stairs, they've been rebuilt and reconstructed, but nonetheless, they've built then reconstructed to what they used to be. So I really struggle with that. I think that Zol's point is well taken. I wish the proposed entrance rendering would actually show the sidewalk. And if anything, I really encourage the applicant to revise this so that at LPC, when you present to the commissioners, you actually show that. I think that it will make an actually more compelling case that it is historically appropriate. In the end, I will support this application, but I really want to know that, we don't do it lightly to remove historic features and elements of the building. Especially for a building of this significance. This is really the gateway to this particular historic district. And it is a very prominent building in and of itself. Actually, was it Landmark before that became no, we're actually not in. Sorry, bad girl. So yes, so I will support this application, but I really want to know that, this should not be seen as, a precedent and, we likely put historic features in the dumpster.
One more comment, if I may.
Mike, one comment, go ahead.
One comment. Looking at it from somebody who walks the streets all day long in Manhattan, I'm seeing an extra 4 feet of promenade area on the sidewalk to offset a little bit the replacing of the original steps.
Yeah, no, point also well taken.
Motion
Okay, all right, we need a motion.
to approve.
Seconded.
All right, let's do this to a vote.
Harris?
Yeah.
Hirschberg?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Quebec?
Yes.
Augustiko?
Come back to me.
Miller?
Yes.
I myself am a yes. Spandorf?
Yes.
Bamberg?
Yes.
Takahashi Ra?
Yes.
Testa?
Yes.
Zolkowitz?
I share Layla's concern. In my appraisal of being there every morning, I think those steps are a significant feature to this very important and beautiful building. But because we are a recommended body and we really only have any value, if we vote with unanimity, I will vote yes.
Layla?
And I will vote yes.
Motion
Thank
passes.
you. Unanimous vote. I really appreciate the committees coming together. It's really meaningful. Thank you to the applicants and, you know that, the vote of the full board, is what stands, given that we're presenting the unanimous, approval. We don't expect that it will be controversial, but you never know. And, please check the website, and, you have an opportunity to attend, and you also have an opportunity to speak during the public session for 2 minutes if you choose to. All right.
And by the way, we don't mean to kill the architects of the best.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, the final application tonight is 218 West 57th Street. This is an application for an extended elevator override, roof railings, and replacement rooftop stairs to allow for the active rooftop programming of the building, as well as new signage and storefront work. Hi, Kat.
Nice to see you.
Thank you for your patience.
We lost a lot of weight.
You look good. You look good.
Thank you. Cass Stackelberg, Higgins Space Partners Partners. I'm happy to be with you guys again this evening. I'm going to introduce the architecture team. I'm going to make the presentation, but in case you have questions, I'm James Brion and his partner Eric Barasa from Supret. They're the architects. And this project combines 2 parts. They're landlord work and tenant work. And actually, Higgins Space Partners and Supret are representing both the architects and the developer and owner and the tenant as well on this project. So we're going to sort of bring this together under one application that's sort of combining 2 different uses. As you read, Layla, in the project description, there are really sort of 2 different components. There's base building work that the architect we're working on with the developers on sort of updating particularly vertical transportation, in particular the elevator for the project. And then the tenant is carrying out work up on the roof, signage, reinstating a painted wall sign and some work at the ground floor of the building. And I'll just mention, because I think they actually presented to your licensing committee in the fall, but I'll just mention that the tenant is going to be the Phantom of the Opera. And as you may know, the production closed on Broadway in April of 2023. And they're going to be actually occupying this building in a really interesting new way, in this sort of immersive experiential way. So the building is going to allow for interactions with the performance, with the production. Different scenes will be represented throughout the building, but also up on the roof. So this application is largely about bringing people into the building and addressing that at the ground plane, but also allowing people to get onto the roof of the building for 2 different parts of that production. So we'll sort of go through that in a minute. So let's go to the first slide. So 218 West 57th Street, you can see here it's an individual landmark on the south side of 57th Street between 7th Avenue and Broadway. It was designated in 2008. And you can see both from the site plan and the photograph, there's an open plaza, and that plaza was developed along with 888 7th Avenue in the early 1970s. So this building historically, along with the individual landmark to the west, this building was part of a row of buildings. But in the 1970s, that adjacent building was demolished. And so you have this exposed east elevation, which increases the visibility of anything that happens along that side elevation and the roof. So the work that we're doing up at the roof, particularly this is a stair bulkhead, the elevator bulkhead is beyond that. It is visible from the side, but as you'll see, we built a mock-up. You cannot see the elevator overrun from the front of the building or from the west. Next slide. So sort of an overall axonometric on the left is the existing view, on the right is the proposed. So I'll just highlight the areas of work. There's a all the work is shown on this, but there's a certain scope of work that the staff is going to approve, rooftop mechanicals, masonry repairs, things like that. Those are noted here. But the sort of major elements that are before you and the commission were calendared, by the way, for a February 13th public hearing. I forgot to mention that at the outset. So one is increasing the height of the elevator bulkhead by 12 feet to allow access onto this roof. We're retaining the existing stair bulkhead. There's a new stair in the back that's not part of the commission review, but basically the elevator bulkhead, the railings on this high roof, the railing on the low roof, reactivating a painted wall sign that exists on the side elevation. That's also part of the scope. And then at the ground plane, introducing new signage and treatments in the storefront windows, which I'll get into in greater detail in just a moment. So you get a sense of the overall scope. And then from the back, if you go to the next slide, from the front to the side, this building has visibility from 56th Street because that plaza runs through block from 57th to 56th Street. So that view is actually in this direction, but you can see the elevator override here, extending up with access onto the roof. The stairs, the new stair off the back of the high roof down to the low roof, and then miscellaneous mechanical work on both levels that the staff will be reviewing. Next slide. The building has a really interesting history of adaptive reuse. It's quite a remarkable range of uses that this building had. It was built originally in its original form, just this 3-bay wide structure, completed in 1897 and designed by Cyrus Eidlitz for as a society house for the American Society of Civil Engineers. And it actually was so popular that they expanded it into this bay about 10 years later. But by the 1920s, they had actually moved out. And the building was used by the Ajax Rubber Company because this, as you probably all know, this was part of Automobile Row. So the Society House moved out and it became a tire showroom. And then after that, it became a car showroom. And then after that, it became a Schraps, which I guess maybe if you click that,
Yeah.
you can see this side of this margin. Oh, great, perfect. So the base of the building was sort of redone, obviously, for commercial use, and then it was redone again. So the infill, this very grand marquee, was installed when Traps came in. And Traps occupied the lower 2 floors, and the designation report actually notes that the upper floors were used for apartments. So it's amazing how many different uses this building has taken on. Next slide. So after Schraps moved out, I think in the 1970s, Lee's Art Shop came in. They originally had the lower floors. Eventually, they took the whole building, and they made modifications to the ground floor. They had this large sign over the door, which actually still remains, but there's a big panel in front of it. And then the storefronts that are here in this photograph from the time the designation were installed in 2002. So the storefronts that are there today predate designation. Next slide. Some existing photos. So this is looking across 57th Street. You can see the volume of the building and the open plaza, which runs through 56th Street. And then the view of that east elevation with that painted wall sign, which we intend to overpaint and use for basically associated signage for the production that will happen. It's not going to be advertising. It's exclusively geared toward the production in the building. Next slide. A couple of photographs, first of the upper roof. So this is a little key plan, but this is looking at the stair and elevator bulkhead as it is today. An existing cooling tower that is over here on the sort of west side of the roof. And then just a sense of that relatively low parapet. This is looking east on 57th Street. And so we're going to be putting a railing in about 6 feet inboard of that, which will peak up over the parapet. Next slide. That was the high roof. This is the low roof. So this is down at sort of this lower portion, ductwork, mechanical equipment. And then these two basically enclosures, these mechanical enclosures back in this part of the roof. This was the extension that was constructed about 10 years after the original construction. And the production is going to actually occupy the insides of these, but also there'll be a way for the audience and the actors to occupy this low roof. We'll see more of that in just a minute, but this is this sort of tucked in space that actually can be activated for the theatrical use. Next slide. An existing elevation on the left and a proposed elevation on the right. So you see the increase in height of the elevator bulkhead here. It's about 12.5 feet in increase. That bulkhead is set back almost 40 feet from the front of the building, so it is not visible from directly across the street or from the west. It's only visible once you move to the east and you're looking sort of through that open lot. So you can see the bulkhead work, this low railing picking up over the parapet, and then some signage changes at the base of the building, which I'll get into later in the presentation. Next. The side elevation. So again, we're activating this area where the existing wall sign is. We have some parameters and criteria for the wall sign. It will be basically the same size as the existing. It'll be hand painted. It won't be a vinyl stretch banner. It'll be painted and it'll be tied directly to the actual performance itself. And then you can see inside elevation the stair bulkhead and then the increased height in the elevator bulkhead. Next slide. A section. So, but there's a little bit of information in here, both an existing section and a proposed section. We have to basically extend the existing elevator because it runs through the entire building. It's really not feasible to put in a new elevator. So the next slide just illustrates sort of how that's going to happen. All the mechanics that operate the elevator have to be lifted up. So that's what basically requires an increased height, and there has to be a nearly 4-foot clear space above the cab to the underside of that where the mechanicals are. So that's what ends up resulting in the 12 and a half foot increase in height of the bulkhead. Next. A little bit about sort of how the roof scape is going to be used. So on this upper roof, during the performances, the actors will be basically in this zone and the audience will be up here, and they'll sort of move through the building to the different parts of the building, including this high roof and the low roof. Next slide. In plan, basically there'll be a new roof deck built, a railing around it. And you can just see sort of how the circulation will work. Here's the elevator letting out into this little vestibule and then out onto the roof, or the stair, bringing people right up onto the roof. This stair, and then this stair brings people down off the roof. Next slide. On the low roof, similarly, tucked in sort of that corner, the actors will be in this zone and the audience will be behind them. And then there'll be a railing, low railing around here, basically separating the performance space from the mechanical equipment that's up on the roof. Next. And then an existing and proposed plan, again, sort of new roofing and decking here, mechanicals at the perimeter, railing inboard, and then sort of active space there in the corner. Next slide. And just to give you a sense of sort of, this is very much of a work in progress, but the team at the Phantom had put this together just to give you a sense of sort of how this is going to be used. I'm not sure how clear this is, but this is a photo looking northwest on that low roof, sort of where one of those mechanical enclosures are. And basically it's just going to be sort of low scenic information. Scenic materials sort of run across the roof, and then information and sort of scenic elements. This is going to change probably 20 times before the performance, but just happens, which is, I think, scheduled for late this year or next year?
Following year, March
2025. So this is sort of very preliminary, but you get the idea that it's going to be very sort of atmospheric, but low scale and theatrical sort of set design, basically, that will. Next slide. So we have built a mock-up. You can see it sort of a little washed out in the screen, but up here, the railings are mocked up as well. And so on the right side of this next 5 slides, you'll have a photo of the mock-up on the right side and rendered views on the left. So you can see the extension of the elevator bulkhead. And basically, it's going to be constructed in brick. It'll be finished on its north and east sides, the same as what's below. And then the back side here will be red brick. It'll be built in red brick. And you'll see that sort of fits with adjacent finishes. This will be, there'll be a new graphic here for associated with the production. But obviously it's visible when you're standing, under it in that plaza. Next slide. And then as you come around, sort of walk through that plaza down onto the sidewalk, again, it's visible. And I think, this is, in my mind, this is not sort of a zero-sum game. It's like, if it's visible, it's bad. If it's not visible, it's good. Like, it is visible, but I think what you have to consider is sort of what's the impact on the building from this visibility. And so you never see the extension in conjunction with this really beautiful front facade, this sort of carved limestone. You just see it over this 1970s plaza. So I think that's a relevant factor to consider in terms of its appropriateness. Next slide. So as you move down 57th Street, so now we're looking sort of west, southwest. Again, you see it with the Argonaut beyond, it's sort of saying about brick, it's, you know, again, you see it, but it's in the context of something much larger behind it. And I think really doesn't detract from the overall meaning of the historic facade. Next slide. And then the furthest you can get back is from the east side on 7th Avenue. So this angled view of the Osborne here. And you can see the mock-up here and the bulkhead there. There's a little bit of railing. You can see the railing picking up over the parapet. This is just going to be a simple orange on center metal picket railing. Next slide. Coming back around, so this is a little bit closer. Again, you can see it sort of through that east elevation. Next slide. This next slide illustrates, oh, sorry, we're on 56th Street. So through, we can go to the next one. So this plaza runs all the way through from 56th to 57th Street. So this is the 56th Street side. They're doing some construction. Actually, I think there may be local law work on this side elevation of this building. So this is closed off right now. But you can see the back of the building. So this is the red brick of the existing elevator bulkhead. So the idea is that it'll be constructed in red brick. So that brick will sort of continue up. But on the east side of the plaza side and the north side where it's a different color, it'll be finished in a lighter color to make it blend with what's directly below it. Next slide. We added this, it's a little hard to read, but yeah, it's very washed out on the street. But basically there's a sort of moment here where you can see it partially against the sky adjacent to the tower that's over the art student stage. So there's a vantage point from there. Next slide. These slides or these images are really just to illustrate where you can't see it. We don't typically include these in, but I do think it's relevant that when you're standing directly across the building, you can't see anything up on the roof. Or as you move to the west, or as you get as far as the west side of Broadway. I will point out, if you go out there, if you stand at the entrance to Nordstrom, which is about 10 feet inboard of the property line, you can see a little of the bulkhead, but the way Landmarks guides applicants on this, it's views from the public way. So if you're standing in front of the Nordstrom's entrance, you're not in the public way, you're on Nordstrom's property. Same for the entrance to the apartment building. So there's a little bit of visibility when you're on somebody else's property. You can go into Nordstrom's and their whole front facade is glass, and you probably see a little bit more, but that's not how Landmarks evaluates these things. So anyway, next slide. So turning to the ground floor, so this is an overall view of the base of the building. So as I mentioned, all the storefronts, as you saw in those historic photographs, they were all reconstructed. The base of the building was reconstructed in about 1918. The storefronts that are there today date to 2002. So this is just a metal and glass and granite infill. This is where the Lee's Art Shop sign is, but there's a panel sign right now over that. And then here, these are sort of recessed entries both on the far east and far west sides of the storefront. And for the most part, we're going to maintain all the infill as it is, but just introduce signage and improve the lighting and sort of clean things up a bit. Next. This is a Google Street View before that this sort of barricade is put in, so you can see the depth here. And that'll be actually one of the entries that's used for the production. And there's some details of the storefronts. Next. Same, just again, some earlier recent photographs from about 5, 6, 7 years ago, just illustrating sort of what that infill looks like without those wood plywood barricades in place. Next slide. So in plan, this is a part plan of the ground floor at the storefront and the proposed. All the entries will remain the same, but the one piece that does require commission approval in your review is the introduction of these little vitrines. So we're proposing 4 or 5 vitrines in the storefront windows with curtains, and you'll see this in the elevation and the renderings of how this will work. And the idea is that these little vitrines are going to hold models and little elements related to the production, and they'll change over time. But putting a vitrine in a storefront window and a curtain doesn't really require commission review, but a vitrine does. So that's part of this presentation. We are also, this is not part of commission review, but we're building a wall back here basically to create a light lock from the outside because there's going to be sort of active performance space just inboard on the ground floor. So this is going to be sort of almost like little sort of set design at the storefront. Next slide. The main entry will have this panel sign. This is basically going to be a framed sign with a black painted metal. These are going to be halo lit letters. So they'll have, as you know, sort of halo lighting, will have the illumination from behind, not face lit. This is gonna sit in front of that existing Lee's Art Shop sign, so that's really right at the main entry. The letters are called out at 18 inches, and we're proposing 2 new sconces in place of the non-historic sconces that are there today. Next slide. The 2 outermost bays will also get sort of simple panel signs. Again, these are just a metal panel with 10-inch and 6 1/4 inch halo letters, which will be on the outer bays of the ground floor. Next slide. Sections, again, this is just illustrating the vitrines that will be at the storefront windows, and then the signage and the typical storefront windows and section. Next. Some details on the signage. We can come back to this if you'd like. Next slide. And then sort of an evening, sort of theatrical like rendering, just illustrating how the ground floor will appear. So with these signs here, the 2 outer bays and at the main entry, the sconces, and then these vitrines and curtains, basically, in the ground floor windows, the new painted wall sign here, and then the extended elevator to the east elevation of the building. So I think one thing, we're excited about the building sort of taking on yet another new use. As I mentioned about the elevator bulkhead, yes, you can see it, but it allows for the full activation of the building, and I don't think it really detracts from the building's architectural character, which I think ultimately is sort of consideration for appropriateness that we like to think about. So happy to take any questions that you all may have.
Thank you. All right, questions? Brad?
I have a few, if that's all right.
Yes.
So just to clarify the question, the bulkhead, when you say it's matching the material directly below it? So,
Right, so the finish of it will, this is sort of a little bit lighter, but it probably would have faded out in the dark. So it's gonna have the same finish on this east face and the north face of what's directly below it. Yeah. And the south face as well. Yeah.
the railing on the roof.
Yeah.
What is the finish and or color of that?
Black, it's just a very simple metal railing.
The scenery that you're planning on putting on the roof, I assume that probably doesn't come back to us. That's probably considered in the same category as like furniture.
Right, so the idea is A, that it's low slung and not visible, and B, that it's gonna change frequently. It's, I think some of it's gonna come and go on a daily basis. We've talked together as a team, and the production company understands that if they decide, it's a year and a half out, they decide that they want something that's a little bigger, they're gonna have to go back through this process. It's just too early for them to be able to say exactly what they want. So we try to anticipate as much as we can to sort of minimize the number of trips through the process, but that would be unavoidable.
Yeah, but I guess I would be more concerned about kind of like a lighting aspect. You showed like that tiny triangle like photo, light, but there's currently no expectation of like washes on the walls or anything like that, or
just
lanterns.
sort of understanding the performance and the sort of the story, it's not a brightly lit.
Yeah, maybe there's thunder on it, like that kind of thing, yeah.
Right.
Okay. Can you talk a little bit more about the egress from particularly that lower roof? How is that accomplished?
Sure, if you want to go, Jesse, to the plan. And James, maybe I'll take a run at this, but I may need your help. So there's egress through these stairs. So this allows people to get up and down from this upper roof. And then there's egress into here off of this roof down to that stair. I think those are our two means, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. So the two paths of egress are, one is through that mechanical bulkhead, which has an existing stair in it. And the other one is via a new stair that we're building on the east side, going up those stairs, lower. So we're going up those stairs and then into the building and down the existing stair that's there.
Okay, so the both means of egress are interior to the building, and then what other one requires you to go kind of up a little, like half level and then back down?
Yeah.
So the two new stairs that I thought I saw on the roof are entirely just communicative stairs between the upper and lower roof?
One of the new stairs is a means of egress from the upper roof, and the other stair is a communicating stair between the lower and upper roof.
So the other thing is, so those are the stairs, the communicating stairs. I think it's also, this elevator, historically, there's an opening there that we are reopening. So there's obviously accessible access to this low roof as well from the same shaft, the existing elevator. Which is not your question you asked, but it's part of the circulation.
Appreciate it, thank you. And then moving down to the lower level of the storefront. The vitrines that you're mentioning, those are basically furniture pieces that are just right up against the glass. That's why they're part of our purview. They're not actually penetrating or any sort of
Right.
modifications to
It's
the
the
storefront.
proximity to the glass that requires commission review.
Okay. And then the signage and lighting that you're proposing, particularly the new signage and new lighting.
Yep.
Is that penetrating historic fabric?
No, so this sign is basically gonna sit in front of where the Lee's Art Shop sign was. And the other signs are basically just gonna be attached to that sort of Muntin grid from the 2002 storefront in the building.
Okay. And then the lighting?
So the lighting is gonna go, maybe we can go back to slide 28, or maybe the one before it. So the lighting is basically gonna go in place of these existing fixtures, which are strangely undersized and, I don't even know if they still work, so they're gonna basically go in that location.
Thank you.
I actually have a follow-up to Brad's questions. How are these fixtures going to be attached
Through the masonry.
through the masonry? And are you gonna try to reuse the existing punctures of the existing fixtures?
I think the elevation would allow for that. I don't know if you guys know, is it the same?
Yeah,
the
the Scots are in the
location?
same location.
Yeah.
But what about the attachments? Are you basically going to
We're
remove
attaching
it
the
and then you have
same
like
hole.
4 holes that you're gonna patch and then you're gonna make an additional 4 holes because the
As
fixture
of now,
is.
that would be the plan. There was an escutcheon plate on the back of the fixture, so we haven't pulled it off to see where the actual penetrations are. But there is an escutcheon plate behind the fixture that we would keep the same footprint of that escutcheon plate, on the lines.
Okay,
The other thing I'll point out, just if you can go to slide 27, the base of this building, it's all painted and can sort of pick out a little bit. This is not sort of beautiful pristine stone. It's been coated and smeared and painted. So it's not like it's not exposed masonry that's in great shape. And it will remain painted just because of the condition that it's in. So
what is the material? Is it limestone?
I think it's a combination of limestone and stucco because the base has been changed so many times that there are little bits and pieces that you can see, you can read it through the paint. It's not a clean stone edge. So it's been sort of worked over.
Oh, yeah, I see. Okay, got it. I have more questions, but I'll get back to them later. Suzanne, you have your hand up. Go ahead.
Thank you. So, wow. So that's a lot of changes to a historic building that's a real gem in this neighborhood. I think it does matter. You mentioned that it's just the impact on the building, but this is next to the Rodin building, the Osborne, Carnegie Hall, the Agronauts building. So I think it actually does matter to the neighborhood. Can I just ask you first about the public plaza that you're going to be building on this addition? Can you just verify for me, that was a public plaza. It used to be an open public space. Is that something you guys can build on, I guess? Now I'm talking behind where you're adding this addition.
Yeah, I think you maybe misunderstood our proposal. We are not touching the plaza. The only work is up on the roof and then at the base of the building. So
you're not adding, sorry, so you're not adding an addition to the back of this building?
No.
There's no addition?
No. All we're doing at the roof is extending the elevator and extruding the existing elevator shaft. Yeah, let's make sure everybody understands the scope of work.
I'm sorry that I'm confused. It was just a lot of information. So if you'll bear with my question.
Yeah, sure. So there's replacement of mechanical equipment on the roof. There's extruding the existing elevator shaft, basically one stop more to allow people to get onto this upper roof. We're putting a railing on the roof because right now the roof, particularly this edge, is not code compliant. So we're adding a railing here and also at the lower roof. And then the connecting stair. And that's the scope on the roof.
Okay, so And yeah, so that squared off area there, that's not in the public. You were speaking about the street behind it. You were talking about a view from the street behind. So I guess I was a little confused as where that was being placed. Can I just ask you about the railing? So you said it's, of course, it's not compliant because I don't think they've ever done anything on the roof before. And I'm a huge Punch Drunk fan, and I love the McKittrick and Sleep No More. How long is this contract in place for this? Like, is it all these changes and being made to this historic building? And how long is the contract for this particular show in place? Do you guys know?
I don't know how long the lease is, but they intend to be there for a long time, but I'm not sure that that's relevant to the appropriateness of the scope of performance.
Yeah, I know. I just wondered because it's a lot of changes for, if it was a 6 months run, it would be a lot. I just wanted to ask about the, you said that you were doing it in red brick. Can you speak a little bit more about that change were you saying that you were building that in the red brick color that would match the facade? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, just if you can go down to the existing photo from the back, the sight lines. So right now, all of the bricks, so this is the view from 56th Street. This is the back of that connecting plaza, that public plaza, where we are doing no work. The whole back of the building, all the secondary elevations are constructed in red brick. So the idea, but the side elevation has been painted and parched. So the idea is that the extension will be built in red brick to match what's directly below. So this will hopefully be, more continuous in its appearance with a red brick above connecting with a shack below. And then on the plaza elevation, it'll be finished in the same color as that side stucco wall.
Okay. And then just, sorry, one last.
Point with the arrow so that, because Suzanne is
Right.
watching
Yeah.
the screen share.
Can you go back to the previous slide?
Yeah.
And just highlight that, so.
And I don't know if Suzanne, are you able to see the arrow so that you can see what has?
I can't.
Okay, good.
Thank you, Dale. I couldn't before, and I live in this neighborhood. I walk by this all the time. So I'm sort of familiar now. Of course, I'll take a little bit more of a look and, but I understand now. Before it wasn't clear to me. Thank you.
Yep.
And can you see that railing, the one that you guys are adding so that the actors don't fall off? I work as an actor. No actor wants to fall to their death. So railing's important, but will you be able to see the railing like from the Osborne or from some of these residential buildings across the way? Will you be able to see it then?
From an upper floor apartment?
Yeah, or just from the streetscape, like it's probably
represented, right? So it's represented here. This is probably a little bit denser than it'll actually read. So if you scoot over to this where the mock-up is, so this line here represents the upper 2 feet of the simple pipe railing.
Okay, I see it now. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Great. Thank you. Other questions? Yes, Barbara.
Can we look at the facade picture rendering with the vitrines? I just wanted to ask a question about that. I also pass this building every day on my way to work, and so I'm thrilled that it is going to be used again. It's a really special facade. So I just wanted to get a feel for like how animated that facade is going to be to passersby. I mean, is there any thought to making the vitrines larger or?
I think the idea is that they're going to have small models, which they will change out. So they'll be animated, but they won't be large scale. So they'll be sort of lit and animated, but not large.
Yeah. Okay.
Can you actually give the explanation for this again? I may have been distracted.
Which?
For the treatment at the what is the finish? What is this black finish?
There's no change to the finish. It's really just how the rendering is done. It's just dark. There's no change to the finish of the storefronts. Basically, we're putting in curtains in the windows with a vitrine at the center.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. So the material is glass.
The window, absolutely, yeah, and all this is sort of happening on the inside.
And then
Nothing
inside
outside.
there's the black curtains.
Right, which actually, like, you know, technically is not. Landmarks doesn't regulate window treatment, so.
Yeah.
That's not really part of it, but it's part of the sort of way the windows are being treated, with the screen and the.
Well, it's theatrical. And it is intended to be black. It will be black
I don't think the curtains will be black,
draping.
I don't think so, but have you guys had any conversations with?
No, I think it would be a pattern, like some type of paisley or something that has this kind of French late 19th century aesthetic. It won't be a black cadence.
Yeah, I mean, the idea is to not animate through sort of seeing transparently into the ground floor, but to, I mean, it is their interest too to make the base of the building and the building in general something that people want to see and are excited to visit. Pay money to go to.
Okay, and then, so on the east side, this egress is the entrance for, no, actually, tell us what is this entrance on the east side?
All right, so there are two separate entries. Have you guys gotten to the point where?
Can speak to that.
Yeah.
There's an entrance for the public and there's an entrance for there's like a preferred entrance, like basically there's a separate tier of tickets that you can purchase.
Okay.
There's an entrance for each of those. And in the center where it says Théâtre l'Opéra is actually the exit of the show. So spectators enter through both of those doors, circulate through the building, you know, freely and have this immersive experience and then exit from the middle doors.
Got it. Okay. Okay. So the western entrance that says billet is actually not billet. You have your billet when you go.
Correct. You buy it online.
Okay. All right.
It's theater. It's theater.
Yeah, that's right. Suzanne, that's right.
Yeah, I'll get back to you, Suzanne. I'm gonna take a couple of questions in the, yeah, Tony.
Going back to the doors, because the two east and west are recessed, is there any kind of lighting in those two recesses?
There are existing fixtures in the ceiling of those entrances.
Downlighting?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's 3 fixtures. We'll likely replace them in kind. We don't have that specified yet, but they're pretty antiquated now. They might be even.
Okay, and then about what those doors actually look like, are they solid?
The doors are translucent right now with a vestibule behind them. The intention is to leave everything with the storefront in place.
Okay, just one more, with the two front doors, is that clear glass?
Like the side doors, no, they're currently like surface entrances.
They're opaque, yeah.
They're hollow
Sides
metal
are
doors.
opaque. The middle, I thought you were referring to is glass storefront doors.
Okay, and then the two side ones are going to remain solid?
Opaque.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's no, only the trains and signage and lights are the only ground. The trains, signage, lights are the only thing being proposed on this ground levels.
Okay. Yeah, Mike.
So I got 2 questions. First, on the plaza, is it forbidden for a building to be built there?
I
Number
think
one.
so, because I mean, this is, that is my understanding, that plaza was created when 8887 was built. They got a bonus for, area for, creating the plaza, so
So it's gonna remain.
But it's a separate lot, it's like, this is, you know, this is.
Yeah,
purely
it's top space
Yeah,
and the
it's-
sides were-
I understand.
Yeah.
And the other question I have, in inclement weather, there's gonna be a show on the roof. Is there some kind of a awning or a tent or some kind of structure that's gonna appear in the wintertime or in a rainy day to shelter the performances that might be happening?
So, good question. This is something that we're talking about right now. Likely, the way this is gonna be handled, there'll be some structure that's gonna, on a rainy day, it's gonna go up, and then at the end of the performance that evening, it's gonna come down. So it's not an element that's sort of permanent or regulated. It's basically like think of it as like an umbrella, basically. That'll cover, and it'll only cover this portion. It'll only cover where the audience is. The folks that we've been speaking with at the, you know, the sort of performance side, they've said, like, the actors don't mind getting wet. Maybe they're holding umbrellas, but the audience will be covered with some very simple.
But it won't be enclosed.
No.
To keep them warm.
The zoning regulations do not allow enclosure here, so it will certainly remain a little bit.
Yeah, so,
Are we on comments?
no, we're still in questions. Will there be any seating, for the audience? No seating, they'll be standing on the roof,
Yeah,
yes,
stay right.
okay.
I
There-
mean,
there
People
will
be
be-
accommodated, I think you have to have this, but the idea is that you're sort of moving through the building, and you're standing.
Okay, and typically, how long would, the audience be on the roof at any particular time?
There's another way
It's not dwelling on the roof. I'll remind you per the zoning regulations, it's gonna be accessory to the performance. So in that accessory nature, it's not fundamental to the show that you're on the roof. And that's something that we're working through with the theatrical team, how to make this properly.
If you have to gauge a duration, is it like, they come in and they walk through and it's like 5 minutes on the
Yeah,
roof and
5,
then?
10, not more.
Okay. Other questions? Questions. Suzanne,
Thank you. So, yeah, sorry, it is a little hard. Sometimes I can't hear the answers and things like that. So that's why, so I hope I'm not being redundant, but I just wanted to understand those, the facade where the signage is, they are illuminated, correct?
So they're halo lit, so what that is it's a solid metal letter with a light source behind it, so it's not face lit, it's just sort of a glow behind the letter, but there will be
Okay.
illumination.
Sort of has a older sort of appearance to it. That's cool. And all of those signs are the other two signs that you mentioned that you're adding that will have that same type of glow. That's the same kind of lighting. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And then, is there anything digital going on? Anything that's like something that's running that is in performance? And then the last question is sound. Is there some kind of a sound that's happening outside of this to promote it and give it the kind of animation, not just statically? Can you speak to any of those things?
No to both. I mean, nobody's told us about either of those things. I don't anticipate, I certainly don't anticipate there being digital stuff on the outside. And I don't think they're gonna have amplified sound at the, at the entrance. Nobody's
Okay.
mentioned it, so.
I think to add to that, the beauty of the performance is that it is set in the generation consistent with the conception of the building. And so it is meant to bring you back in time to some sense. So it would be kind of contrary to have anything digital or of the 2025 generation.
Great. No, that's great to hear. It sounds very McKittrick hotel-like. So that's great.
great. All right, any other questions? Okay, let's see if we have any comments from members of the public. We still have 0 attendees on Zoom. Any members of the public or any members of the public in attendance with us who wish to speak? All right, so seeing none, let's move to business session. Comments? Zool.
I know this building well and love it. Worked across the street when I first started out in filming at theater production in the 80s. Took that building down to build a Nordstrom. This is an exquisite building. But I have to say this to this committee, to the board, to the public. This presentation for this application, I think is the sine qua non of what we should expect in an application. Taxonomic projections, elevations, mock-ups, everything pertinent to anything that we might ask was presented to us. This was exceptional, outstanding presentation, but thank you. I want to say one more thing in terms of, and I know usage is not our area, but the whole presentation exudes with respect for this particular building, for its cultural, historical, for its architectural value, every single which way, very much within what I understand to be the spirit of the law, which we know is somewhat ambiguous. And we've never talked about that much in this committee. And we've never really talked about what was called the by the Landmarks Commissioner equity framework, when we really begin to talk about cultural and historical value in addition to architectural value. All that aside, just one last thing. Having worked in that industry, and Suzanne mentions the McKittrick, we've done similar things down in Soho Playhouse, the kind of thing you do at the Tenant Museum. The Broadway industry has been falling flat for 3 decades now. The model's been insanely poor. Hollywood for 2 or more decades now. This is where we're going. This is gonna make a huge difference in our city. The multiplier economic effect of this kind of production is extraordinary. This was a wonderful presentation. I've gone into some irrelevancy here, but I think there's been tremendous respect for the landmark quality of this building.
Thank you, Zul. So, you know, to frame the application just a little bit, the way this committee looks at visibility, you know, there's no doubt that, you know, the mechanical extension is visible, but the way we look at it is really what matters the most is the primary facade. And I think that they've done a really, you know, terrific job of actually not showing any visibility. And, you know, I mean, Kaz, because he is so thorough, does mention that there is slight visibility, but it's from, you know, within the lot line of another building, and therefore, you know, it's not really exactly under our purview. So, you know, that's just for a little bit of framing. I will get the second comments after Zul, and I will concur. Excellent presentation. This is really what we strive for. And, you know, if you look at our metrics, this is exactly the kind of presentation that we give high grade and high rating. I think that it is a beautiful work on the building, and I think that it will be a great addition to the district, and I will certainly vote in favor of this application. Other comments? I'll take a couple more comments. Brad, Suzanne, I see that your hand is up. You will be next. Brad, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I want to reiterate what everyone, both of you have said so far, which is I think it's a great presentation. I think it is great to kind of bring a new, exciting turn for this building. Truly, the only thing that gives me a little bit of pause, and I'm not going to vote against it for this reason, but I just want to kind of raise it as something that I don't particularly care for, which is on the east facade, that pipe railing, which is like the only thing that you're going to see that's not sort of the building, and you'll see it sort of in pairing with the existing primary facade. The fact that it's visible and could be set back a little bit further, so as to minimize that visibility. You can see it in the mock-up, not on the screen, but on mine. So that is the only thing that I'd like personally to have modified, is to try and minimize that as much as possible. But otherwise, I think it's a great presentation. I look forward to being implemented.
Thank you. Suzanne.
Great. Thank you. Yeah. So as a person who's tried to save a building in this area of historic note, this is exciting. We've been sad seeing it empty, and that they are bringing something that will add to the neighborhood in a contextual way, and not just economically, but because you're down from Carnegie Hall, the area suffers, and I'm excited about this, and like the stewardship of trying to maintain the dignity of the building around a historic, famous play. And yes, noted about what's happening in Broadway and just entertainment overall. I will echo that, and I won't deny this, but I thought it was an amazing presentation, just very fast and hard to hear on Zoom. For those that I annoyed, but I am a little bit concerned about the pipe railing. I do wish that was a little bit less visible, and the height of the elevator, I realize, is not something that can be avoided, but the impact of the visibility of the Agronaut building is not, I'm not excited about that, but it sounds like it's, I don't know. I mean, I guess they have to extend and be on the roof. You know, they sounded like they're not going to be up there very much. So I think to make this large change is, I don't know, but that's why I asked about how long they're going to be there. And you asked about if there was going to be seating and how they're using it, to add an elevator and add that height and change the building. You know, I don't know. I won't deny that I find it excessive, but I didn't find cause for it being changed for use of a roof that will be intermittent or just for a couple of minutes. I have a feeling that the show will use the roof more than it is. That's just a feeling I have, but I'm not going to deny it. And I'm excited about revitalizing this building in the area.
Thank you, Suzanne. Other comments? Yeah, Barbara.
I'm in favor of it. I don't really, I think that the visual impact is, minimal and, I think overall it will be great to see this building come back to life.
Thank you. Other comments?
Motion to accept.
All right, we have a motion.
Second.
All right, let's take this to a vote.
Right, Harris,
Yes.
Hirschberg,
I think I have a conflict, so can I just abstain or?
Who would be present but not
Present
invited?
but not invited.
Johnson,
Yeah, yes.
Quebec,
Yes.
Augustus,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
I myself am a yes, Spandorf,
Yes.
Stanberg,
Yes.
Takahashi Real,
Yes.
Testa,
Yes.
Zolkowitz.
Yeah.
Motion passes.
Okay, unanimous votes. Thank you very much to the team of applicants.
Thanks.
Do we have any new business for this committee to consider? Any new business? Zul,
I would like to see a visioning meeting sanctioned.
Can you speak a little louder, please?
Yes, I'd like to see a vision meeting sanctioned by the exec by the full board, for those people who would like to come voluntarily to talk about their vision of what our district, our borough, our city would look like in the future.
okay, so
Sometimes we all
I
ask
think this
for it.
would be something to bring to the attention of the board office. And maybe you can consider it by the executive committee. It wouldn't be the landmark committee that could make this determination.
So, could it be new business in front of the full board?
I would encourage you to actually reach out to the chair of the board and see how it would be best to actually bring this. Yeah, absolutely. Any new business pertaining to the landmarks committee? Okay, seeing none, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you. Thanks.